Okay, let's get going. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for coming to our ad hoc traffic committee of the RCSD. Let me just go over a couple things. I'm calling the meeting to order. Nathan and I are here. And let's all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. So I have one person that wrote down that they want to speak, so I'll open up the public forum. However, just like our last meeting, this is just a committee meeting, so you guys can ask questions throughout the evening. We're going to have Wazoo and traffic folks from county go over, summarize what we did last meeting, and then they put together kind of some new options, and we're going to discuss a survey moving forward to get the community's input as to if we want changes to the Montecito corridor or not. So with that, if anyone wants to come in and talk, I have Ryan Avery. Go ahead. How you doing, Ryan?
So I'm Ryan Avery. I am the chair of the traffic safety committee of Hopkinton Elementary. So anyway, the reason I'm here is we've had a group of concerned parents increasingly frustrated with the traffic safety situation in Hopkinton Elementary. Some of it is related to the CHP, which enforces loading zones, which our principal has been working with. So it's a multifaceted issue, but the reason that I'm bringing it here is
Oh, there we go. Sorry. So the reason I'm bringing it here, and I have a handout for you guys, I only printed 5 of them, but basically we have a crosswalk that's being blocked that people can't see when they're crossing with their children on one of the streets. It's a crosswalk. It doesn't have a crossing guard. So it's on Salmon. So anyway, I have the handouts here if you want to send those around. So I've identified the 2 things. So we have a crosswalk that's being blocked on Salmon, and then we have a significant amount of traffic congestion on Gertrude. So on my contact information is on the front, and then the first page has the crosswalk blocked on Salmon, and then the second one is the traffic congestion on Kensington Road, and it all stems around the way that we're directing traffic through Hopkinton area. Pretty much all of the parents are leaving on this one street, and where we have crossing guards is good, but that's also creating congestion. The way that they're crossing children, they cross like 1 or 2, and then they wait, and then more come by. But really, we have 2 issues there that I'm not sure if this is the right place to address, but trying to start somewhere. So
That's great. All right. And when you say the traffic flow, or who's directing that at the school, or it just happens?
this is on the streets outside of the school. At the crossing guard, at the Kensington and Gertrude intersection, there's a crossing guard there, and there's a 2-way, and he stops kids. But like I said, a lot of times he's crossing 2 or 3, and we got all these parents backed up, and then everybody tries to turn right onto Gertrude to get to Foster because they want to leave, but they don't realize there's other options. So that causes a lot of traffic congestion in front of the school where people are dropping off, and then we have people making U-turns and people darting in and out of traffic trying to get by. And then the Salmon one, the first one is just related to just blocking a crosswalk. We can't see. We've got kids running out in front. We can't even see because there's no crossing guard there. I guess studies have been done in the past and deemed that a crossing guard was not at that time important.
Okay.
So anyway. Not sure where to go with that, but that's...
Well, we have the superintendent here tonight,
Yeah.
so, but thank you very much for bringing that to our attention.
Okay.
And we will certainly look into it. Go ahead, Joe.
We would definitely talk to the CHP and make sure they're aware of this, and I'm sure Dr. Pulver and Dr. Friedman will also make contact with them.
Yeah, we have a CHP liaison. This is more related to cars, like parking areas that are physically blocking a crosswalk. So that's what I'm trying to figure out who has.
So if I may, President DeMarco, So what remedy do you,
Yeah, what's the solution, in your opinion?
Red curb it, just
Oh,
make it so
okay.
you can't
Oh,
park
great.
there.
We got county traffic here too, so.
It's in front, that's what I'm saying. And then
Oh,
as far
okay.
as traffic flow around the school, that is,
So you're allowed to park you park at the curb of a crosswalk? Okay,
well, it's not yellowed or any color. And it's in a residential neighborhood, it's in front of somebody's house, which I understand, but it blocks the crosswalk and we have children going
Got it.
across it. That's all. So
Got it.
trying to
Okay.
figure out the best way to remedy that.
This is not,
Yeah, Kensington and Gertrude, that's like a traffic flow issue. We have a cross guard there. The one that's blocking it is on Salmon Street, which is the elementary, the lower grade drop off there. Yeah, a stop sign, yes or no, I don't know, but the issue that we have is that we have children trying to cross the street and there's usually somebody's SUV parked right in front.
Yeah.
So I would just ask for a red.
Homeowner's SUV or a
No.
school parent?
Great question. No, it's parents park. The homeowners, I know the homeowners that live there.
Way down there. And where is it? Where-
this isn't Dodge City.
It's Salmon and Kensington, which is right there. So it's not an owner that's parked like a motorhome or something. I know, I've talked to the people that live there. They're like, we don't park there.
Don't
So, anyway,
wait, this isn't Dodge City. This isn't Dodge City.
we're not allowed to, is the issue.
all right, so wait, if we get you information about this crosswalk, could perhaps you take a look at it in the near future and just see if we can remedy the problem, perhaps? Okay, thank you. We'll
Yeah,
get
you
you
got-
more.
Yeah, did you get one of the handouts?
No, I'll,
That would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one right there. And the other one, I don't know if it's I don't know when the last time a traffic flow study was done, safety study in the area of Hopkinton, but we have a really big congestion problem that's caused by everybody trying to get out on Gertrude, because I think they just don't understand that you can go straight on Kensington to get the main way. There's like a million ways to get out.
so now what's your solution on that, in your opinion, since you live in it? So what's the solution to tell people how to turn, which way to, and are they gonna listen?
If you had, well, are they going to listen?
I mean,
Sheriff's Department representative can tell us if
Yeah.
people listen. But yeah, the only thing I can think of that I've thought about is just a sign that says "Do not turn right" when there's traffic going on there, because people can get to Foster and Mainway. Every other street leads there. It's just you've got all these people jammed up on Gertrude and they can't turn
Yeah.
left onto Foster. So, hey, please don't turn right during traffic hours. School hours would probably do it. But like you said, who's going to listen to it? I don't know. But
I,
so so our principal has been very helpful with us, and he has agreed to hand out flyers, which we're doing, and we have sandwich boards up saying, don't park here, don't do this, don't do
Great.
that, that we're working on, but that's the parent education part of it.
Yep.
But this is just, the reason I'm here is just for the physical stuff that I can't do, which is red curb, and figure out if we can get people to keep from using that street.
well, thanks for bringing that to our attention. Wayzoo's gonna look at it, and come back to our next meeting, and let's see if we can find a solution.
Yeah.
Don't know if it's the right solution, but a solution.
I'll keep following up. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Ryan.
thank you.
All right, anyone else have a question right now, or can we turn it over? Oh, yes, go ahead, sir. Yep. No, you can speak. You can ask a question, or you can speak. Do whatever you want. You want us to wait? I don't know. I think, let's listen to, but it doesn't matter, however you guys want to do it.
Good evening. My name is Alan Wintoff, and I live at 3212 Bostonian Drive on the corner of Montecito and Bostonian. I was here at the last meeting, and I thought quite a bit more about some of the issues, particularly as it relates to the school, Rossmore School. I have lived at that house for 50 years. My observation is this, that really there's congestion 15 minutes thereabouts either side of when the school comes in. So at 8 o'clock in the morning, it's about 7:45 to 8:15, half an hour a day. In the afternoon, it's 2 o'clock or thereabouts, 1:45 to 2:15. It's another 30 minutes. And that's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, not a rush hour time. So that's 1 hour a day where there's some form of congestion. 5 days a week, 5 hours. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Superintendent, but let's call it 40 weeks in the year by the time you put holidays and vacations together. We're talking about 200 hours in total in a year where there's some form of congestion. Now, I've lived there for 50 years, and I can work around 15 minutes either side of the school congestion. So trying to come up with a lot of solutions, which is basically quite a lot of money, is it really necessary? And that's the question I'm asking myself in terms of roundabouts, striping, and that sort of work. I haven't done it recently, but I have talked to the crossing guards, and I think there's 1, 2, 3 crossing guards by the Rossmore School. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, sir. And the comments I've received from them are really more about enforcement by the CHP. Now, I know that the CHP may have its problems, so now what we've got is how necessary is it to spend money on sidewalk, on traffic circles, and that sort of disruption and striping for what amounts to 200 hours in the year. I know, because I live on the corner, I can work around that particular problem. 15 minutes either side doesn't really bother me one way or another. So that's the first question or comment that I've really had. And whether it's 15 minutes, it's a good round number to sort of be considering. So is it worth the cost? The next question that I had was about bike lanes. Now, this might be a little bit more controversial, but the only real bike lane of any major significance that I'm aware of is along Foster. And when I driven along Foster, about 20% of the time, maybe a bit more, but it's that sort of order, I see people riding their bicycles on the sidewalks, not in the bike lanes. And it might be a bit more than 20%. Now, I can understand that if you've got a toddler, and he's got a little toddler bicycle, you want him to do that safe. But to be honest with you, what I'm seeing is really how effective are bike lanes. And I know there's a bit of controversy over this with e-bikes, but I've had e-bikes, my friend Betty will tell you, they're coming down the sidewalk there on Montecito, sometimes with helmets, sometimes not with helmets, sometimes I've got a pillion passenger on the back. Maybe that's the wrong word over here, but if I use the word pillion, is that a reasonable word? Pillion. When you're on a motorcycle, it's a...
They're riding back. That's an old-fashioned.
Oh, I'm old-fashioned. It's, you've seen them, you know, 2 people on the back. So again, to my way of thinking, it comes back again to an enforcement issue with CHP. You know, helmets, where should they be riding and where should they not be riding? So, in my opinion, and whatever the conclusion I'm drawing, being it's our taxpayer dollars and it's Orange County Public Works, would we be better off fixing sidewalks where the trees have pushed up the paving and there's a tripping hazard? Or do we want to put it into roundabouts and striping? People that I've talked to in my general location, I happen to be the watch person for that area, so I know a number of the people, basically shaking their heads at the idea of roundabouts or one-way traffic circles. So think about it, ladies and gentlemen. Really, half an hour in the morning, half an hour in the afternoon, not in rush hour traffic. Do we really need to go through the expense of one-way circle around Rossmore School? Do you really want roundabouts there? I'm not sure. I guess if I had to vote, I probably would vote no. Questions? And I'm sorry if I've used the word pillion, and it might show my non-wokeness. Okay. Anybody got any questions they'd like to ask me? Yes, sir. I can't, I'm a bit hard of hearing, so if you could speak up.
I do cycle on Foster quite a bit. The bike lanes are often blocked by cars, so you either need to drive with other cars, which is not considered very safe, or you drive on the side, or you ride on the sidewalk.
I would agree with you, but that goes back to an enforcement question.
No, that goes back to how comfortable you are sharing the road.
Are you saying the cars are parking into the bike lane?
Yeah, it's not a dedicated, yeah, it's not,
So that's it. To me, right. So
You might want to explain
what's the
it.
point
Yeah,
of the
so-
bike lane?
So let me just explain something. So Foster Road used to have a dedicated bike lane with a parking restriction in the morning on one side and a parking restriction in the afternoon on the other side, and that was for primarily the kids going to Oak Middle School. That was changed several years ago. I don't even think the bike lane's there, but the lines might still be there, but it's an open share road now. So that's why you see a picture of a bike on Foster. So the idea is you share the lane, you share the road, cars and bikes. But like you said, sir, that you have to be, you have to be wanting to share the road with a big, heavy automobile. So Foster's, again, you can park on the bike lane. What we are talking on Montecito is a dedicated bike lane where you cannot park in. So there's going to be an area for a bike lane, and Wazio will go over it again in a few minutes, but it's a dedicated lane, unlike Foster, where you can park now in that lane, because there's no longer a bike lane there. It's an open lane, bike, free, whatever the designation is that you ride your bike in the street with the cars, okay? So that was changed a long time ago, even though the line's there. Okay, so, and another comment, so you are correct. If we were a city and we had so much money to spend that we could move we'd have money in a bucket for traffic that we could move to our bucket to repair sidewalks. We don't have that. This is just an open forum as to, do we want Montecito, do we think these changes are going to make our roads safer for us or not? We're not going to get a bill from the traffic department. We pay our taxes for Orange County traffic. So they're going to do it or they're not going to do it. Same thing, they're going to fix our sidewalks. And Joe can tell you, that's another committee, but that we can talk about the improvements from the county, but they go on a list and things get repaired because we're unincorporated, right? So the money thing is not really playing into this. Rossmore itself is not going to get a bill for restriping Montecito. Rossmore is not going to get a bill for a roundabout. We're just trying to we're asking the county to look at ways to making our corridors safer. So, and again, your opinion, you've been there a long, long time. I agree with you. It's a little bit amount of time. I'm sure, I'm just assuming this, but you're retired and you stay at your house, but there's a lot of us that get up and drive through Montecito, drive where Rossmore is, and drive where the other schools are, and it's it's a bit chaotic at times in that half an hour to 45 minutes in the morning. So, and also on Montecito, it's a bit chaotic at certain times on Montecito. And again, the other thing we're trying to hopefully solve is the parking issue as well on the corridor. But the main thing is safety. We're not talking about who's flipping the bill or what it's going to cost us. We just want a safer road. So that's my comment. That's my comment.
Thank you very much for your opinion.
Thank you, sir.
And your insight. I've had my say, and hopefully it'll be listened to.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tony?
Yes.
If I may? real
Yep,
quick?
go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, I don't want to interrupt too much, but I think we need to get on with Wayzoo presentation because I know we have Dr. Pulver, Dr. Friedman here from the school district who I know they want to hear what you have to say. And then, but the gentleman raised a point, and I need to probably chime in here regarding our curb gutters and sidewalks and our streets. I have to tell everybody here, we have the best curb gutters and streets in the county, and we ought to be proud of it. And I work with Wayzoo on a daily basis, keeping them up. And if you have an issue, report it. Call it in here, or there's a website for the county to report it. And they are very responsive, so thank you.
All right, with that, Wayzoo, why don't you just go over just a overview of last time, as much as you can, and then what you've prepared for us tonight. Thank you. Is it on? No. Hang on. Can you turn on Wayzoo's mic? Yeah. No, it's not on. It's not on. There we go.
Now it's working.
Now you're on.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming tonight. And don't worry, I'm not going to go through the whole 45 minutes presentation this time. So we're going to just jump really quick through the each segment to the recommendation and basically explain to you guys what we want to do for this area. But entirely the decision is in your hand. We're not going to implement anything without, the community's consent on that. So, sorry, I think I'm a little out of
There you go.
range.
There you go.
Okay. Really quick, just for everyone's knowledge, we're dividing the study area into 3 segments, and the color-coded, the green area, and then the blue, and then the yellow. So as you see, the longest road, Montecito, we call it the Montecito North, the green segment, combined with Bostonia and Shakespeare. That's more of a emphasis on the school circulation. And then the Montecito South, which is the yellow segment. For that segment is primarily for movement, mobility, and crossing safety, and also parking demand. And then there's also Bradbury. I think the main concern is speeding. So each area has its own emphasis, and we have a solution for all of them, I hope. Okay, sorry. So for the Montecito North segment, what we're presenting is to change the lane configuration. Existing on Montecito is 4-lane with 2 lanes on each side and a parking on both sides. And there is no bike lane. What we want to do is convert it into 3-lane plus 2 bike lane. So the 3-lane is essentially 1 lane on each direction for cars, and add a 2-way left turn lane in the middle, and then also adding the bike lane on 2 sides, which you see is the green colored striping, and then the parking is off to the curbside. By doing this, we should be able to help the children crossing the street much easier, and also provide them bike accessibility, encourage them to bike more to school, and also reserve the parking. In this case, I think it will help in the long run, more sustainable approach. You know, more kids biking to school instead of depending on the parents doing the picking up and the dropping off. Sorry, Denise, can you just help me flip the pages to the, the segment? That's the previous one, yeah. The Montecito South. That segment, the primary concern is we have a lot of condominium and apartment building on the right-hand side. So that's high parking demand. And oftentimes, they don't have enough parking space within their own parcel, so they have to park on the street and even cross the street on the other side of Montecito. So there is a lot of crossing back and forth, and that's a safety concern. And also, the parking demand, do we have enough parking for all of them? And another thing is the bike connectivity. If we were to add a bike lane on the north portion, the south side, when resident children going to school, they also need the bike lane access. So our recommendation is actually the same configuration as Montecito North, giving it 3-lane. Initially, we were contemplating on the angle parking, which will allow adding more parkings, but that comes at a cost of safety. So after some consideration, we determined that's just not worth it. Let's just keep the on-street parallel parking for now, and then just add the bike lane and change the lane into 3-lane configuration. In this case, crossing, again, is safer and also safer for bicyclists and pedestrians as well. There are a lot of data collected in terms of the parking demand for this area. Even though it seems like it hasn't been 100% occupied, but definitely is a high demand area. So we try, for all the recommendations or alternative we evaluated, the baseline is not to reduce or diminish parking space. Can we flip to that slide, Denise? Oh, never mind. The previous slide might have it. Sorry, I'm short-sighted. It's a little difficult to read. Maybe here.
Oh.
107. Yeah, 107. But is that the segment he's talking about? No. Okay. Wow. He's on the phone. Okay, let's go ahead with the next one. Bradbury. What we're trying to do here, Bradbury, is from last meeting, I think the main concern is speeding on Bradbury, but currently, it's already a 3-lane configuration. I think we changed the configuration a few years back with that in mind, try to reduce speed. But apparently, it still needs to be reduced further. Currently, the post speed is 25 miles per hour, but I guess, again, it's an enforcement issue. CHP is probably, because of the resources, it doesn't really patrol the area very often. So we can come up with some additional alternatives, which will be included in the survey material we distribute later, and including adding some raised median in the center of the street. That kind of create a visual cue to narrow down the lane further, and also adding the pavement marking to remind people, because we already have the 25-mile speed limit sign posted. But we can add it on the pavement to make it more obvious as well. And I think another solution is to add the radar speed feedback sign, like the one that we installed on Montecito. Hopefully that would help as well.
Doesn't it seem odd that the speed limit is 35 on Montecito?
Well, honestly, if we were to go really by the book, Bradbury should have 30 mile per hour speed limit, but we kind of played a curveball here, use the CVC code for residential street definition. Because of the high density along Bradbury, we were able to classify it as a residential local street. And by that definition, we were allowed to post 25-mile speed limit. It's a little unconventional, and I guess maybe that's part of the reason CHP is not very inclined to enforce it, because one might argue that's not enforceable, but that's what we try to do. One of the effort. Yes, right, and that's why. Yeah, that's all part of the reason we're trying to reduce the number of lanes and also lower the speed limit, all in the effort of reducing the speeding behavior on Bradbury. But anyway, so for Bradbury, those are the alternatives we're going forward. These are some of the justification or reasoning why we want to really promote this 3-lane configuration. There are a lot of research already done, and this practice is being carried out by many agencies and determined to be very effective in terms of reducing speed and primarily reducing collisions. It can reduce collision by statistically by 19 to 47%, which is very impressive. And also, honestly, in terms of the capacity, operational performance on Montecito, really there is no reason for us to have 4-lane streets with such a low volume. The ADT, the average daily traffic on Montecito, I think was only a couple thousand, right? And typically up to 20,000 vehicle per day, that volume, you can still put them on the 3-lane street. So this is really excessive capacity on Montecito. Well, I know it's a little counterintuitive for most people, but it really is to enforce the orderly flow of the traffic. If everyone is flowing in the same direction, the same pattern, and the same pace, we shouldn't have any congestions. The problem is, when there is weaving, people are trying to overtake someone, or there's people crossing the street, and then people stop, and then, rear end, that kind of thing. That creates chaos on the street.
Sir?
Maybe some other people do. Yeah. But anyway, from our engineering perspective, we think the lane configuration changing to the 3-lane is really a good solution in this case. Also, another thing we realize is there's a lot of side street connecting to Montecito. So adding a turning lane, that would really help with those turning movements. Because right now, every vehicle making left turn, you're literally stopping in the fast travel lane. So that's unsafe. By creating the 2-way left turn lane, you kind of help them, make the safer turn. And also for pedestrians, you create a refuge island for them to cross the street, one segment at a time. Yeah, so this is an illustration of how the 3-lane configuration can make the pedestrian crossing street much safer. The distance of high conflict is reduced, and also, the center 2-way left turn lane is kind of a safe refuge area for them to stop in the middle of the street. So this is a kind of a illustration of Montecito. Just give you a visual a concept of what's current, which is the top, and what's proposed, which is the bottom. Essentially, it's really reducing a 4-lane arterial street, as you guys mentioned, the corridor kind of setting, into a local collector street. Someone has a question?
Well, I have a big issue that I didn't even think about until when I started looking at this. But I have a lot of questions, I have a lot of comments, I'll wait till you're done.
Okay, yeah, appreciate that.
I'm going to need you to bring up one of the slides, and I don't know which number it is.
This slide number is 26 at the left bottom. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a secondary arterial.
Okay, so then we would be striking it to go against the general plan. Is that correct? So is the general plan going to get updated?
Yes, but that can be done internally within the county because it's not part of the master plan of arterial highway at OCTA. So we don't have to do the
Testing.
NPH
1, 2.
amendment, if that's what you're referring to.
We're trying to record this, so if somebody has a question, I'm going to hand you the mic so we can make sure we're getting enough volume.
Okay. Sorry about that. Okay, this is another improvement. We think it might be helpful. Add some mini roundabout or traffic circle, some of you referred to. We want to start with the portable one, which doesn't seem very, aesthetically pleasing. But if it turned out to be very effective in the future, we can, contemplate on doing capital improvement project by doing it permanent and add some landscaping and make it very aesthetically pleasing. But the roundabout idea was, again, safety is the number one reason we want to do it. It can reduce speed and also making the circulation more efficient. A lot of the study already proved it's actually carry higher capacity in terms of signalized intersection or stop-controlled intersection. So people don't have to come to a complete stop, but you go through it in a very slow motion. So in that sense, it is help to bring down the high speed you travel down through the entire corridor with open sight line. In this case, you have an object kind of in the middle of the intersection. That alone, the visual cue, will help to reduce the speed. So to sum up, back to the original area photo, the three segment, the green area, the yellow segment, and then the blue. So the green school area, Montecito North, and also Shakespeare and the Bostonia. We want to do the 3-lane configuration with the bike lane on each side. The South, Montecito South, doing the same thing. And along this whole stretch, we want to add 3 mini roundabout at the major intersection. And for Bradbury, currently we're going to keep the existing configuration, but possibly adding raised median and then the radar speed feedback sign, along with the pavement marking for 25-mile-per-hour speed limit. So that's all we are presenting to you on the recommendation. We can open for questions. And Denise, do you mind? I guess they have questions on the slide, so let's not change to the survey just yet. I think we can open for questions.
Yep, we can open for questions. Yeah, you need to either, please be mic'd.
Okay. My name's Beth Pyburn. I live at 12300 Montecito Road. I am in Seal Beach, but it's also Rossmore. And I apologize I was not able to get to the other meeting, but I have a lot of comments and questions now. First of all, some of the problems that I see, okay. One of the big problems are the kids, especially these kids on the e-bikes. They don't wear helmets, and I really question if they're riding to school, why aren't they wearing helmets? Why aren't the schools enforcing that? They are riding double, and they pay no attention to any of the rules of the road. They will go through any stop sign. I've seen them wheelie diagonally through the Rossmore Center Way intersection, which is offset and problem as it is. They don't do any stopping. They ride anywhere they want. They ride through any place, on the sidewalks, on the streets, pay no attention. Okay. And they do ride double a lot. And from what I understand, those bikes are not made to ride double, but they do. I see them all the time. Okay. Parking on Montecito is horrible. It's gotten worse since we fought the the gym, because we no longer are allowed to park in that parking lot. When I was looking for a place to live, and I was looking at the condos, apartments on the north side of Rossmore Center Way, I was told that that parking lot was part of their overflow parking. Okay. My garage floods a lot where I am, and part of it is because of drainage from that street, we found out. Okay. We have no place to park. People from north are parking on the south side of Montecito. Where do we go? Okay. And everything. Speeding is a big issue on Montecito. Personally, I think it should be 25 miles an hour from the get-go. Okay. Long Beach has lowered a lot of their street speed limits, and they've been able to do it with a new state law that doesn't require all the traffic studies. And I would love to see something happen about that. Okay. Okay. You almost never see police. You never see the highway patrol, unless maybe there's an accident if you're lucky. You never see the sheriffs. You never see Seal Beach police. You never see the chippies. There's no enforcement. Okay. I have comments because I've done a lot of work on circles, the roundabouts. I've been involved in traffic studies in Los Alamitos when I lived there. They don't make much of a difference. Okay. And you're talking about taking a four-way stop sign street and making it a roundabout where you say, quote, they don't have to stop, they just slow down. Now at least they are supposed to stop, and you're taking that away. That's not going to work. Bicyclists, the kids, they'll just plow right through it. They won't know what to do with them. Neither will pedestrians. They are potentially dangerous, especially at those three intersections that you're talking about. Okay. If you can try to find slide 23, I think it's 23 for me. I think it's that one. Okay. Nope, go back. One. That one. Okay. No. One more down.
Denise, can you help? My clicker doesn't.
That one. Okay. So if you take that intersection, okay, so right now Montecito is 4 lanes, okay, and the intersection of Rossmore Center Way, Main Way, and Montecito is offset, okay. You now make it a center line, okay, which makes sense, except for a few small issues, like if you go on the right side, the lower right-hand corner, there are apartments right there. That intersection, like 10 feet from that corner, is where the entrance of our garage is. Okay? So now, when I come in, make a left turn on Montecito into the left turn lane. Okay. How in the world am I going to get into my garage when you have one lane? Okay. That affects my apartment. It affects the apartments or the condos next to us. It affects all of the condos down the road on Montecito, trying to turn into our garages. Our exit garage is further down, but our entrance garage is less than 10 feet from that intersection on Montecito and Rossmore Center Way. That is going to be a problem for all of us living along that corridor. Parking is already a problem. Now we're going to have a problem getting in and out of our garages, even more so than we have now.
I'm sorry, I'm not really following you on that. We're talking about the
You see
image
where
on
the
the
green,
right.
okay, you see where the green car is?
Yes.
Okay. And so if you go the two arrows right behind, right below, okay. If you make a left turn from that second arrow, the bottom arrow, you make a left turn, you're pulling right into our garage, underground garage.
Okay. Why is this configuration won't work for you to turn left?
If you have one lane, like I admit, right now, when we make that left turn, we do block traffic. Okay. But now you have one lane of traffic instead of two, so your traffic's going to back up. It's going to make us very, yeah,
This one,
that
coming
way.
down and the big
Right.
left
So
and
our
here.
apartments are right. That's exactly where our parking garage entrances. And if there's cars backed up on at that stop sign,
Yeah, because the
It's-
driveway is literally on the
It's
street
less than-
going into the shops. It's literally right next, you got 5 feet, and then there's a big
yeah,
huge driveway.
yeah, it's about 5 feet.
She's saying if you're going down Montecito going southbound, and you try to make a left,
Right.
and you have, let's just say you have someone trying to make a left on the main way, how is,
Oh, I
how are
didn't
they-
even think of that. I didn't even think of
Yeah.
that.
So how are you gonna, so you have two, you have one coming this way, one making a left on Main Way. How are you gonna
Oh, I see. You're
maneuver?
having a conflict with the vehicle coming this way and making left
Well,
turn.
I didn't even think about that.
So imagine if you had a car making a left-hand turn. So right now, if you're making a left-hand turn and someone's making a left-hand turn going northbound on Main Way,
They can pull up
you
ahead
just
of,
stop in the lane and you wait until
Yes.
either someone lets you in?
yes.
Okay, so in that instance, that's, again, that corner is a
Yeah, it's a
terrible
nightmare.
corner. It's just, because it's jogged like this, and then there's an entrance into a condo complex.
Right, literally within about 5 feet from the intersection. And that's the entrance to our,
Is it the
Our
entrance or the
it's
exit?
the entrance. The exit is further down.
Could
However-
that be reversed? Just because that's a dangerous entrance. If I didn't really,
I don't know. I mean, it would be difficult getting out. You're stuck either way.
yeah, yeah. it's
Because
just
then
a
you're
tough-
making, if you have to go down, might as well, unless you decide that we
To make-
can't make a left turn out of our garage, and we'd have to make a right turn,
And another right and go around in
go
through the
around.
shops.
That's,
Yeah.
we'd have to discuss that. We have a HOA meeting next week. I'll be there, and I'll be talking about some of these
Mm-hmm.
issues. I don't think anybody else from my condo is here tonight, but
That's a good
I didn't
point.
even think about that. Left turn Main Way, left turn into our
Yeah.
garage. I don't even want to think about it.
Come on up. You got a mic, Maureen. You got a mic.
Oh, yeah, I do. Okay. So if that is the intersection.
Yeah.
A four-way intersection, four-way stop intersection. No, I know. I thought the left turn lane is like if you're coming down St. Cloud and you want to turn onto Tiger Tail. Then you would get into that center
Correct.
median and make a left. But if you're coming to stop at a four-way stop sign, like at Copa de Oro or at Main Way, would you not just stay in the lane of traffic and go left?
Not if there's a center
No.
left turn, you have to turn off.
No, you would be in the left-hand turn lane making a left and out of the, yeah.
You can't, yeah, if you have a center lane like that, you have to turn, you have to
Thank
make
you.
that turn from the
There's
center
also,
lane.
there's also something to consider with the delivery people.
God,
And
yes.
people who move because they do constantly double park in that lane when they're moving in and out of those complexes. And the UPS and Amazon are constantly double parked in that lane. So anybody going down Montecito knows it's a constant.
Yeah, that's true, they park in the traffic
Well,
lane.
I mean, again, you're going to have to go around them in the,
There-
either the middle lane or wait for them to make the delivery.
So-
Or they'll park in the middle lane.
Yeah.
And also, just as an FYI on your draft, you've got Montecito North from Bradbury to Davenport, Davenport parallels Montecito, that, you need to fix that, that's not right. See?
Oh,
I-
page 2, the Bradbury? no,
Yeah, page 2, that's not correct.
Bradbury to Davenport.
Davenport parallels Montecito, it doesn't intersect with Montecito.
From Bradbury to Davenport.
So I don't know where that is
No, I
supposed,
think that this is going, what's that?
I don't know where that's supposed to go. Unless it's Montecito North from Bradbury to Bostonian.
No,
That
no,
may
no,
be
we're-
what
this
that is.
one's, wait a minute.
North
The-
is going up.
Bradbury and Davenport come in a right angle, and Montecito's here.
Montecito becomes Orangewood all the way around at the other end, and it intersects with Davenport. The document's correct.
But-
Yeah, it's, It really should say Montecito Road / Orangewood, because we're talking about
Okay, all right,
the
I see what you
northern
mean.
end.
Yeah, see, I was taking, since Davenport is down our way, that's
Yeah.
why I was thinking it was.
So the
I
pa-
apologize for that. It's very confusing, though.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
Can I ask her a question?
Yes, go
Can
ahead.
I ask you a quick question, please? I've been in contact with a number of the associations up and down the corridor there, and I've often tried to find the CCNRs, and I've read their CCNRs, but is there any restriction regarding garage parking? I mean, a lot of them have two-car garages, some have one. Is there any CCNRs that call for them to have mandatory parking in their garages? Because that would alleviate some of the stress on the street.
I honestly don't know for sure, but I do know that some of the newer vehicles will not fit in our garage because of the gates and everything. So that's part of the problem.
Okay.
Everything. But I do know that a lot of the cars from in front of our building is coming from north of Rossmore Center Way and the other big complex.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kurt Wheeler, I'm on Copa de Oro. Last meeting, I asked if Seal Beach and Orange County were having discussions about putting housing into Rossmore Center, and everybody's like, "No, I don't think so." But then I got this email from Protect Our Community says they're doing that. It just seems to me that the Rossmore residents are kind of being played. I don't know. I'd like to know if there's anybody that is pushing for more parking on Montecito in between Copa de Oro and Bradbury.
What do you define pushing for more parking?
Well, more than what's there now. I mean, it's just simply there's a study and that's one of the options. Nobody's really pushing anything.
Well, I can tell you what this committee and this board has been pushing is permit parking in Rossmore. So that we want, I mean, there's been that being asked of us is to do just a permit system in Rossmore.
No, I'm just saying if somebody seemed to be pushing for more parking on Montecito, that would seem to imply they were aware of the housing that they were talking about.
No, I think the point of wanting more parking, just like the angled parking idea, was to gain more spots so it would alleviate the intrusion of cars in the residence on the first 1,000 feet inside Rossmore, which you can't take your trash cans out. You can never park in front of your house because there's so much overflow cars from the condominiums being parked in Rossmore because they just don't have the capacity at their sites for whatever reason.
The border between Seal Beach and the county is, I think, around the sidewalk on the Seal Beach side, right?
Yeah, I believe the entire street and the sidewalk is county way?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. My recommendation last meeting and my recommendation now is to eliminate all parking on Montecito between Copa de Oro and Bradbury. That means getting the permits, and Seal Beach can go work with all that parking that's sitting there behind their place or what. But it seems to me you need to table this until you find out what Seal Beach is going to be doing. Because if they're putting in a bunch of housing right behind the condos, I don't know. But, sorry, honey. That's all. Thanks.
Thank you. Yes?
Try to make it quick, it's 8 o'clock. My name is Amy. I'm a recent homeowner on Bradbury. Don't hate, I moved from Long Beach, but there is a reason for it.
Welcome.
Thank you. So coming from Long Beach, they want to be the bike-friendliest city in the entire world. As a bicyclist, I hate it. I hate the bike lanes. I hate taking away lanes of vehicular traffic to accommodate 4 people on 4 bikes, which is, my neighborhood didn't see a whole lot of bikes in there. I live by 3 schools and a college. And I recommend if you're going to think about these bike lanes and the roundabouts, go head down 6th Street in Long Beach, Alameda Heights, between Bellflower and Park Avenue. It's a cluster, of epic proportions. The roundabouts, we've had traffic meetings at a resident's house up there, and people have crashed into the roundabouts. They don't slow down traffic. They encroach into the crosswalks. But the way Long Beach did it was they had, I'm directionally challenged, north-south no stop sign, but east and west, you had to stop. And no one knows how to drive a roundabout. They don't know how to drive the big one on Lakewood Boulevard. I did that for 18 years every day. They don't know how to maneuver them, and if it's a four-way yield, they don't know what to do. I don't think they reduce speed at all. They just cause problems. And you have a slide, what's the next one down from this one, page 25, I think? And again, as a bike rider, I am adamantly opposed to making these bike lane things. Okay, there's another one. It's the one that has the parking, the bike lane, your little graphic of how you're going to have the reconfigured lanes.
Yeah, the scale version.
Because I see a major problem with one of them. Again, coming from Long Beach and how
Denise,
they've done
can
it,
you-
right there,
yeah,
yes.
for sure.
So Long Beach, when they have it this way, they have the bike lane on the curbside. So it's protected from vehicular traffic. If you have it that way, you're going to get someone who's not paying attention, open their car door, poof, right into a kid, because no one pays attention. I'm a bike rider, I ride on PCH, and I'm surprised I'm here. People just, they don't pay attention. I think a major problem is there's no enforcement of laws, and so therefore people can do what they want because there's no one there to ticket them. You get a ticket, you got to pay a few $100, and your rates go up for 3 years in insurance. That might make someone think about something. The roundabouts, no. And then the taking away lanes of traffic for the bike lanes, it just ticks people off, and as soon as they get around it, they're going to go hightail it to make up all that lost time. And Bradbury, my unit faces Bradbury. I work from home. My office faces it. I hear the speed all day long. And you said CHP is likely not to enforce it because you've already got it down to 25 and it maybe kind of shouldn't. When you're driving 50 plus miles an hour with no stop sign for 3 or 4 blocks, that's enforceable, I think. I mean, I hear it all day. I wake up in the middle of the night and I hear it all day. I mean, I hear it throughout the night. There needs to be someone there enforcing the speed, 25, 35, whatever, but someone needs to be out there enforcing the speed on Bradbury and Montecito, because they hightail it on that street too. But I think the lack of enforcement just gives people that no one's here, you know.
The location you mentioned in Long Beach is 6th Street, and what's the other one, the
It's
intersection?
in between, it's the bike corridor. It goes all the way up 6th Street for miles and miles, but my particular area was in Los Alamitos, Alamitos Heights, between Bellflower Boulevard and Park Avenue. And there are a handful of roundabouts, and then you get to a spot by our Little Wreck Golf Course, and there are no roundabouts, there's just a straight shot, but they actually just recently put in speed humps, whatever you want to call them, and people now, to avoid having to slow down,
They go around them.
go into the bike lane. So these little traffic things you want to put in, they don't work. They're going to find a way around them. They're still going to hightail it around that traffic circle, especially in Bradbury. I don't know if you're putting them on Bradbury, but that's a nice wide street. You got a lot of room to go around it, and they will. I've seen it. I lived through it. Doesn't work. It doesn't slow them down. What will slow them down is a ticket in the mail and my rate going up for 3 years. Worked for me 20 years ago. When I drive the bumpy road on Loins, I'm going the speed limit because I got my one and only ticket there, and it learned my lesson. That's my 2 cents, just living with the whole bike lane and the roundabout thing. It hasn't worked well in Long Beach.
Your house faces Bradbury?
I am on Bradbury, yes.
You're on Bradbury.
My bedroom and my office are right there, and I see it and hear it.
So just
all
an idea, one thing I find with any kind of law enforcement is the more complaints you have, the more apt they're going to come out for those complaints. So
Give
you
me
might
your phone
want to
number,
get.
I'm willing to call.
No, well, you might want to get a ring,
Have one.
okay? And then when you see that 50-mile-an-hour car go by, save the video and email it to our captain or CHP captain and keep on doing that.
Okay. I'll have to see how it,
Well, even if you just say, hey, there was a red pickup that came 50 miles an hour today, and then again and again and again,
Yeah.
maybe they'll station someone there and come to our meetings and tell us again and again and again that that's happening.
I've heard they used to hang out on Bradbury before I
Yeah.
got here.
So-
I've heard they did.
That's what I find.
I'll need an email address.
Speeding is more of a CHP problem, but it does make
All right, someone has. Okay, all right, thank you.
The other thing, too, I might add, is we can't engineer 100% safety. There has to be enforcement. So you can engineer this to give us as much safety as we can, but you got to have enforcement. You got to have education.
And you
So
gotta
there's,
get rid of the entitlement. People just think rules don't, it's just, I gotta go, I gotta go, I gotta, they just, and no, I don't think, this is maybe just me, cynical, I don't think any amount of education is gonna work. You can speak them into someone's head.
what I'm saying is all three are needed.
True, true. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Carol Churchill. I live on Bloom near Rush Park. First of all, I want to thank you for going to all the trouble to prepare this work. It's really well thought out, and I really respect the amount of effort that you put into it, so I thank you for that. I'm going to start with the most controversial part of this, which is apparently the roundabouts. I grew up in Long Beach. I've driven up and down the traffic circle a million times, and I kind of think it's fun. But it does go faster because it's intended to get people around that intersection up and down. However, in residential neighborhoods, my experience in Long Beach is it really helps. They call it the Belmont Heights area, an older neighborhood in Long Beach. It became gentrified, and you see more like little mansions along the streets in that neighborhood. And traffics were pretty much zipping through there from like Belmont Shore up Park Avenue and some of these little side streets. So on a few of the streets, not all of them, they put these little mini roundabouts. And they do work. They slow the traffic going down in residential neighborhoods. They're not everywhere. They're placed strategically. You have a place where you can drive, and then you slow down, and then there's a little place where you can go, but you never get up like 30 miles an hour between where you start. You drive to a roundabout, you slow down. You drive a little bit, a roundabout, you slow down. So actually driving through the neighborhood is very productive. And I would like to request that even if that is controversial, that you might want to consider trying them for 6 months to see what happens. Because I find out that I may have an initial reaction, but when I live with something for a while, I find that I adapt to it, and I find it something that I can live with. So I would request that you at least give it a try rather than nix it right out the gate. Another thing I'd like to ask is, I know when I drive off of Seal Beach Boulevard going into McLeod, the traffic coming off of there is like really fast because you've just come off a freeway or you come off of Lamson and you're anxious to get into your neighborhood. So you're kind of fast on Seal Beach Boulevard making that left-hand turn into McLeod. And the corner that you come off it and then you have to curve around, and that's a very fast corner. And I'm wondering if maybe you could put like a roundabout at that corner to slow people going into that southern part of Montecito, because it's already going to slow down anyway if you do that middle lane and then one on each side.
What's the cross street you were saying?
It's by the library. It's where it's turning.
Looks
It's
like
St.
it's
Cloud coming
Tiger
into
Tail
Rossmore.
and Montecito would be the intersection.
Yeah, what is it?
It naturally curves, but it's just a thought. It may be useless. Yeah, but if that would slow down cars coming off of Seal Beach Boulevard going into the neighborhood, you actually would be creating a more total residential neighborhood as opposed to like a pass-through, because you're having 4 roundabouts on that main street running through the city. That's an idea. Again, it may be controversial. I'm not an engineer. I don't know anything about traffic, and free to put it in the trash, but I'd throw it out there. So a 6-month trial period, I would like to try that. On the school on North Montecito, your alternate 2-3-1-1 lane PP, I actually like the idea of putting the bicycle lane up against the curb. I'm telling you, these kids on these bikes are like insane. And I have to agree with her 100%. They're children. Their brains aren't working like adults. They want to have fun. This is a great neighborhood to be in. They're off with their friends. They're enjoying themselves. But they are completely clueless as to what's going on around them. And as adults, we try to be careful, but I'll tell you this, there are a lot of people out there who maybe their eyesight isn't that good, their hearing isn't that good, they're distracted. I see people on the cell phones driving all the time, and I'm going, you're not supposed to be doing that. So if there's a way to kind of like protect the bicycle riders closer to the curb, okay, but if that won't work, I saw these low-profile like cement logs, and I don't know if they're effective, but if there's a bicycle lane, the car might not drive into it. It may be more warning to them that they're not going to go into a painted lane. So I thought that might be something that could be considered. Okay, on Montecito South, I did send out an email inviting people to come to the Seal Beach Community Forum tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. I believe that Mr. Mendoza also did the same. Seal Beach is having a forum to discuss zoning changes in connection with these new housing developments that are going on. They're inviting everybody to come, but I specifically wanted to invite Rossmore because of this issue with Montecito and the parking. The proposal for the the shops at Rossmore is to take approximately 10 acres and zone them for 46 units per acre, or another 400 housing units on that area where they had planned the fitness center. Behind Sprouts, right. So thinking about how we have a history in Rossmore dealing with the parking issues, it seems to me that this is the perfect time to unite the community to go speak to the planning people in Seal Beach in a very conciliatory way and say, hey, you've identified this center, you've located 19 acres of land, 10 of which you're thinking about building housing on. How about using a dedication, like in lieu of Quinby fees for park, to secure like an acre of land and perhaps building a multi-story parking structure within that zone. I actually think it would be kind of cool if they put tennis courts and pickleball on top of that structure to invite people to go up there and do stuff, so it keeps out crime. But at least we should ask them about getting some of that land in connection with that zoning so we can deal with the parking problems, not just on the street, but actually as part of this proposal for building. Let's see what else. We talked about the kids, the crazy kids. The angled parking I don't like. I don't like backing out of angled parking. I'm afraid I'm going to hit somebody. I do have a car system that has that senior security system with the thing in light, so it tells me if I'm going to run over somebody, so I don't do it, but not everybody has that. So that's about it. Thank you for working so hard on this. I think you did a really great job, and I appreciate all your time.
Thank you, Carol. Just one thing that I do want to go back to, the roundabout idea. Actually, if South County, Ladera Ranch, that's a well-built residential community. They have tons of roundabout there, and it really works well. It really brings you a community sense, and it just basically take away the arterial street, that kind of feeling out of the street. So imagine every few blocks you see this kind of circle. You do have to slow down and go around it to find your exit, and then go to the next block, and then it works well in sequential order. So if we just entire Montecito, the problem with that is a straight shot. So yeah, kind of intuitively you would think, well, I have stop signs, so people stop. What if they don't? That's the problem. People sometimes run through stop signs because it's an open site to them. There's nothing blocking them. So for them, if they're in a rush, they're very well likely to speed up, through these intersections and continue going down. But having roundabout, you kind of do break that pattern intermittently, they do have to slow down and find, maneuver, get over it, and then go to the next one. Before they can speed up to another, 60-mile speed limit, there's another roundabout come out. So that's why we propose not just one roundabout, a series of it. And hopefully that would, and also reducing the lane numbers. Again, changing the street from arterial highway into a local collector street. That's essentially what we're trying to do. But in terms of the parking and then the bike lane switch, I'm gonna let Steve to explain the reasoning why we're doing it this way later. But right now, I see there's a lady waiting, so I'll let you go ahead.
All right, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Question, I was here at the last meeting with some questions. Question I have, or backing up, I'm on Montecito directly across from the daycare center, so I'm between Bostonian and Shakespeare. I agree a lot with what Alan states. He's on Bostonian, right on Montecito. My question, how many people here live on Montecito or between Bostonian and Shakespeare? Okay, Ellen and I. So all of you that are on South, you guys, I feel, have the worst traffic over there with your situation and parking. So my heart goes for you. I don't live in that area, so it's not my place to even know how to help on that. When it comes to Montecito, with last meeting, your slides proved, and you had said, there's not an issue there. The reason the 4 lanes work on Montecito is because we have curved streets. We do not have very many elementary school bicyclists nor middle school. Does your survey show or head count of how many bicycles you count in the morning?
We didn't do the manual count, but we did take the video shot from 7 a.m. until 8:30 a.m. So if we want to, yes, we can rewind the video and, counting from the video to see how many were recorded. I think it's fairly minimum.
It's extremely minimum.
Yeah.
The other reason that the 4 lanes work and not having a middle turn lane, people aren't dumb. We know where the turn lane is. We don't need a separate turn lane. The bicycle lane, the kids aren't safe to go in the bicycle lane. They are safer on the street. To change these lanes for a few bicyclists where they're safer on the sidewalk makes little sense. The other thing is the way the parents come and leave, like Ellen says, 15 minutes, maybe 30 minutes of inconvenience, but not much inconvenience. A number of parents will pull U-turns on the street. The 4 lanes add to the safety on that. Parents are rushing, coming, dropping their kids off, rushing to get to work. I do not see the benefit of going 3 lanes. There's a saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That part of Montecito works well. I see no reason to change it. If anybody else does see, let me know.
Which part of Montecito?
From Bostonian to Shakespeare, that side of the Rossmore Elementary with the daycare. It works. We don't have bad traffic in rushing. We don't have a lot of fast drivers. You'll have some. On weekends, you have little traffic. All this work to change what's working makes no common sense to me.
So let me just chime in. So the way you're kind of looking at the Wazoo is, so we asked the RCSD board, because of complaints, okay, because of issues, because of safety concerns, we've asked for all of this. And as Wazoo said, we don't have to do any of it. Okay, so it's RCSD putting these meetings together. Do we feel this is safer? So it's not anything that the county's doing. We've invited the county because of many, many, many years of complaints. So we're trying to get it safer for bikes. So people do ride bikes on Montecito. People do ride bikes all the way out. There's been a push with the the schools to bike to school. Okay, so I would say it's probably going to increase, not decrease, the number of bikes moving forward. Again, my opinion, this is from where I'm looking at. So that's fine and certainly I know Rossmore doesn't like change at all, no change. Okay, we all complain, but we don't really want to dive into, we don't want to be a city, right? So, we don't like change. So we all know that. That's why we're having these meetings. That's why Wazoo did all this work for us and say, hey, this is what I know. This is how I would remedy. So it's not, when you should be looking at Nathan and I and say, you guys don't do this, right? So, because we're the ones that invited him here, this traffic committee invited him here, and it's really, the board didn't just dream up all of this. So others have come before you for the last, I've been on this board for 10 years, saying how parking problems, speed, I live on Bostonian, they run through the stop sign, okay? I've seen it many, many times. They run right through the stop sign. It's unsafe, okay? So we need more enforcement or unincorporated. We're probably not going to get CHP unless every single one of you complain 2 or 3 times a week. We might get a CHP officer in here more, okay? That's just the reality of being an unincorporated, okay? Now, we could choose to buy a CHP officer for a certain time, okay? We can do that. And then we can have our own officer, right? So I'm just saying that again, I'm hearing what you're saying. We don't need to fix the rest of the way. It's Wazoo's opinion. If you're fixing it on one sign, up to Mainway or up to Bostonian, she just says might as well continue to do it. We don't have to do it that way.
Thanks for your input. By no means am I meaning to pick on you.
No, it's fine. I didn't take it personally.
And by all means, when you say complaints, how many complaints have been from Bostonian, forget the go-through, to Shakespeare? Is more of the complaints the other area?
Sure. I would say that if from the end of St. Cloud to where it turns in Montecito to Mainway or to Bradbury, that's really the issue. Okay, that's the issue. The school, there is an issue at 7:30 to 8:15 and at 2 to 2:20. Just like the other gentleman said, there's really not that big of an issue. For traffic, blowing through stop signs, there's still issues, okay? I was gonna bring up, the thing about Shakespeare and Montecito is it's got 2 dips. So you can blow through it, but your suspension's gonna get messed up, okay? On Bostonian, there isn't, right? You can blow right through it, right? So again, I go back to cost. This is not going to cost the community anything. The county's going to come and they're offering this to us. So that's why we're taking this slow and we want as much input as possible. And Wazoo's not going to do anything until she feels she has support for doing anything, correct?
Yes. I understand what you're saying. I appreciate that. I'm just saying this one area, you said questions or opinions.
Yep.
It works good. There's a lot of safety with it. And when it comes to change, I'm one of the first people that I'm not afraid of change, and I'm for change if it's needed. I just don't feel it's needed in that area. And I welcome others if they think differently. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Actually, it just came to my mind for one. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I don't know if the mic's working or not. I just had a couple questions, trying to understand from the school standpoint the roundabouts. For our buses, would there be any, I don't know the dimensions, have we factored that in that the buses would be able to get around the roundabout? That's all I would really want to double check. And then what impact does that have on crosswalks? Because you've got this round, and yet you have, I'm looking on Google Maps right now, there's like 4 crosswalks and 3 crosswalks. So what impact does it have there as well? Just because I missed the other meeting, so my apologies.
That's okay.
Good
Yeah,
info.
I'll let Steve talk about it.
All right, so roundabouts in a setting like this are very modest size. They're not substantial. Diameter might be on the order of 10 to 15 feet. The crosswalks can either be left where they are, or they can be placed one car length back. Two options on that. But in either case, the traffic does not travel into the crosswalk as it's going around the circle. The bus and large vehicle accommodations are handled in several different ways, one of which is to make the inside, the taper of the circle mountable. But in this case, I think the radius would be sufficient that that wouldn't even be necessary. The buses can go around without having to go on a taper. So it's common practice, not only for buses, but it has to accommodate garbage trucks and other vehicles, fire trucks. All those are accommodated in designing the roundabout.
How's the impact for like in the morning at a school, in other areas where now there's not going to be a stop sign, right? So when there's higher capacity, how does it flow? Like how do the side cars get into the flow of things if the main street, Montecito, does not have to stop?
So with the way these three roundabouts that are being considered, they would be yield upon entry. So you yield to the vehicle that's already in the roundabout. It's the common roundabout practice you see throughout Southern California. And the volumes here are low to modest, even during the peak hours. So the queue of vehicles might be 2-3 vehicles at most.
Before there's a space or an opening to get in.
Right, and you're not going to be waiting more than 20, 30 seconds at most.
And then in other areas that have these same type of roundabouts, when it's by a school and there's crosswalks, are there issues in terms of people wanting to cross while you're approaching this roundabout where you've got to slow down, of course, but you don't really have to stop, right?
Correct, but the beauty of the roundabout is you're only dealing with conflicting traffic from your left. You're not worried about traffic on the right side or anywhere else. So it simplifies the whole driving condition. And so it allows drivers to be more aware of pedestrians because they're not worried about traffic coming in all different directions. So it does simplify things, and they have a good track record when it comes to both collisions as well as pedestrian safety.
Excuse me, sir, but I do disagree with you. I have driven roundabouts or circles a good deal part of my life. You have to look for both left and right because people are going to be approaching at the same time on the right-hand side. And like I said, right now, you have a stop sign that you have to stop. In a roundabout, you don't. You keep going. And kids aren't even going to think about that. They're going to hit that crosswalk, and they're going to not see a car right there. They're going to go and everything. And to have two of them right by two schools or that school is crazy. I'm sorry, but I've driven them. I've seen accidents in them all the time. You get it from the left. You get it from the right. And so it's not just coming off of your left. And you're right. People they are not going to stop. They just enter that roundabout thinking that, they have the right of way, but they don't necessarily. They're pretty dangerous. I do have one quick question. On the survey that you have, is that just going to go to Rossmore residents? Or is that going to go to those of us on Montecito that are truly impacted? Like
I don't think
the condos.
we've made a decision. That's what we're bringing to the table today is just surveys and.
Okay, thank you.
Thoughts? Huh? Yeah. So we don't know yet.
When there's a break in action, can I address the issue of whether to place the bicycles adjacent to the curb?
Yes, please.
Or not? So,
yeah.
Best practice is not to trap the cyclist between the curb and the parked vehicle. The only time when that's done is when it's a two-way, what's called a cycle track, which is much wider and has two-way bicycle traffic. But for one-way bicycle traffic, there's a few problems. One is debris in the gutter or rainwater. You don't want the cyclist dealing with that. You don't want to trap the cyclist in the area. The car door can open just as well on the right side as it can on the left. And if it's on the left, at least the cyclist can veer around the parked car. If they're trapped between the car and the gutter, there's nowhere to go. And the final reason is it makes particularly smaller individuals, they're obscured to the driver. So if you have a large parked car and you have a kid on a bicycle behind the car, if you're driving, you don't see that cyclist. So you get up to an intersection, you want to make a right turn, you can't see that cyclist that's on the other side of the parked car. So it's better to have the cyclist visible to the motorist. It's not perfect. There are certainly, with bicyclists being adjacent to moving traffic, that there are risks from that too. But the overall analysis suggests that it's better to have the bicyclists outside of the car, not between the car and the parked car and the curb.
Because, just 1 second, because the survey, you want to continue with the survey you put together? You put this together, right?
Yeah.
Just a few.
Can you pull up the survey file?
Yeah. And then you're next, yeah, okay?
Start it, or you want to start?
How about you sit there and in case they ask questions you can address?
Do you want us to go through the survey?
Yeah, please.
Okay. So the survey, I think everybody received a handout. If you didn't, raise your hand and we'll get you one. There's one page which is simply the announcement that there's a survey. So the top page or the separate page is just to say, hey, there's a survey going on. There's an example QR code. It's not live right now, so don't try to scan it with your phone. So this is just an example of what would be sent out or posted or however you want to
get information,
get the word out.
to get data, yes.
The rest of it is the actual survey itself, which gives a brief explanation of what is being considered. And then for each area, it shows the existing condition and what's being proposed. And it asks the person filling it out to say whether they support it or not, and there's space for comments. So it's pretty straightforward in that it's meant to give people the chance to give their input and say whether they like what's being proposed or not, and if they have other ideas, there's space to note that. In doing surveys over the years, we've come to the understanding that you have to keep it fairly simple. We can't offer a whole variety of options. It gets too overwhelming, and you don't get results that are meaningful. So we had to keep it intentionally simple.
Okay. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Michelle Frost, and I live on Harrisburg. And I had just a clarification question first. You don't really have a schematic on how, on the south end of Montecito, how the roundabouts, the three, how they interface with the 3 lanes. With the suicide lane and one lane of traffic.
The two-way left turn lane would end just prior to the intersection. So as you get to the intersection, there'd just be one lane in each direction at the circle.
So then, for example, at Rossmore, or at Montecito and Shakespeare, and the schools on the corner there, you have a lot of traffic that turns left to go down Shakespeare, either to go to Lee or to go down and turn right on Harrisburg to get to the exit at Wallingsford. So you're saying then that out of one lane, you'd have people turning right to go around Rossmore School, and you'd have people turning left out of the same lane onto Shakespeare.
The roundabout itself would be a singular lane that would circulate counterclockwise.
Okay, so right now you've got if you want to go around, if you want to turn right onto Shakespeare at Montecito.
Southbound or northbound?
If you're going towards that end of the track, south.
Okay.
So you would.
That wouldn't change.
Right now you've got 2 lanes where you can turn right, and you can go
Yes.
straight
Yes.
or turn left. I foresee that traffic, because of the kids crossing at, at all four intersections there, that traffic would back up at that time of day, making it more congested at those peak, at those
Right.
peak
So-
times, more
Right, so we don't-
congested than it is now.
Right, we don't have to guess about these things. We actually have the analytics to show that it would not do that.
Okay.
We have the numbers, the counts. and-
Even given kids crossing,
There'd be well, you have to wait for kids to cross, but the queue of vehicles would be 2 or 3 vehicles on each of the legs, even at the worst case when you're waiting for pedestrians. It's just not, the volume of traffic is just not that high there. It probably feels high from what you're accustomed to, but from a technical perspective, from a engineering and mathematical perspective, it's not that high.
and then, so where would the crosswalks go?
They could stay where they are, which would be I think, the preferred approach, or they'd be pushed back 1 car length from the intersection.
Okay, and if they're pushed back 1 car length, would that then be designated no parking zone?
Yes.
So in front of those people's houses on each side of, if you're in the corner house, you'd have a no parking zone for 15 feet?
That's already the case. That's already the case with a corner, yes.
But not if you pushed it back?
It wouldn't change that, but I don't think that's be the likely design. Likely design would stay where it is.
And then would you have to round out the corners more?
No.
Okay. And then, so at the school times, there'd be a crossing guard, but at other times, that's still a big street to cross in a crosswalk that has no stop sign.
What's your question?
Is that safe at other times of the day when there's not a crossing guard there? Because like on the weekends, you've got, kids crossing with soccer and
Sure.
whatnot.
And we wouldn't put that forward if we thought it wasn't safe. So yes, it would function fine.
Okay.
But the question is do we think it's safe? So that's a good question.
And then are there any roundabouts in the area that are adjacent to schools?
In the area of Rossmore, or?
Well, I know there's not any in Rossmore, but in the area. I mean, are they
Okay, what do you mean in the area?
recommended?
There are some in Southern California, yes.
Okay.
Yes, immediately adjacent to schools, yes.
And they seem to work well?
The data suggests they do, yes. It's not a feel. We have to understand, we don't go by feelings, and it's what does the data suggest? And it shows that they have functioned just fine.
Thank you.
So Wei, in your survey, you kind of broke this down to where north part in green, obviously if you don't want any change, you just vote no, or you just say no. And again, everyone, this is just a draft. They just are showing us if they were to build a survey, make it simple. They chose, and again, from last meeting, they had 4 options, and we kind of whittled it down to where they got enough input to say, you know what, this is one that everyone kind of liked, right? Or had the most support, So then the second page, page 3, it's in purple, and then that's the next section, right, by the school, where it just asks you to support. If you say no, that means you support the way it is now. And the third in their draft is the south, which is, again, where the majority of the problems we hear complaints from is this section. And it's just, if you don't support this, then you want to leave it alone, as it relates to restriping. And then the last one is the roundabouts. And again, Sue's listening, people complain that, people blow through our stop signs and they go too fast. So this is an engineering approach to dealing with those issues. Certainly, we can all agree that you need more than just engineering, you need enforcement, and, hopefully try to get to people just driving safer, slowing down, stopping. So, right, I got your survey right, okay.
Basically, just look out for the yellow highlight. Those are where you're supposed to choose, yes or no. There are a total of 5 locations. So 5 questions for you to pick.
Yes,
And
Joe.
If you needed help with getting the survey out, we would be happy to send it
Awesome.
out to our families.
Great.
Obviously, our principals, Jerry, would be happy to help
Okay.
get any of that out as well. We'd be
Great.
happy to partner with you.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Pulver.
President Marco, Carolyn has an email to read from a resident who wanted to be heard.
Okay.
This email is from Lori Fulton. She lives on Hill Rose Drive. My comments pertain to adding hundreds of new housing units all around our overwhelmed community. If the parking and congestion are so horrible now, why are we adding even more congestion, traffic, electrical needs, water, parking, et cetera, to our already overwhelmed community?
So again, this is just a committee meeting, we can all just debate this issue. The engineers say we don't have a busy community. Our numbers are way, way, way down. And they probably are if you compare us with other communities. We just want a safe community. So I don't care if there's 10 cars, we want them 10 to be safe. So that's, when it's, don't make it busier. We're just trying, we have what we have. It's, our streets between certain hours are not busy at all, in my opinion. It's just, can we improve them by going down to 3 lanes? Certainly the graph she had about, Wazoo has about having 4 lanes and cutting it down to 3 just by crossing the street. And we all know the law that they passed, our good state passed, where you can jaywalk now. Okay, so really crosswalks, other than the schools, I mean, you can cross wherever you want now, right? So by cutting that distance down, it's safer. Statement about coming out. So we've had many complaints about our neighbors in Rossmore having to make a left out of our tributary streets coming in onto Montecito, where you have 2 lanes. Well, you actually have 4 if you want to make a left out on going against traffic. There's no middle lane to get a safety net like out this one. You got to look to see if 2 cars are coming, and then on the other side if 2 cars are coming. Very dangerous, right? This way you have at least, you only have 1 opposing oncoming car coming out if you want to make a left onto Montecito, and you can go into the middle lane almost like a safety lane. So in that, it's safer. So it's really, I try to look at it just by jotting down is it safer or not safer, safer and not safer. And we've again, listening over the years to all kinds of little micro complaints on this corner, on this area. And again, that was the reason why we brought the county out, just to, how would you improve it based on all of these complaints that we've received? And this is what they brought us. So I think they did a fantastic job. It gave us options, many, many options. I know the last meeting there were 4 scenarios for every single problem, the corners, the streets. They divided them up in sections. So it's really up to us. Do we want this? Were you up? Did you have a question?
I have a question on how.
You got to come up. We don't want to miss it. Yes. Oh, I'm sorry.
I have one more email. with
Oh, I'm
comments.
sorry. I thought there was. Joe said 1 email. Oh. Go ahead.
So this message is from Michael Rice.
Okay.
It doesn't give an address, but he says, I have found that roundabouts are effective at reducing traffic congestion and are safer due to less chance of direct impacts to the sides of vehicles. And then he references many locations where he's experienced them. He says they're very common in Europe and the UK.
That's the one where we.
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir.
I wanted to ask as how the best practices for bikes were established because it seemed kind of flimsy to me.
Bikes?
Yeah, for bike lanes.
Do you want to take on this?
When you say best practice, in what regard?
Bike lanes and what it's safer, or because being separated from the main traffic, it certainly decreases things, and having a door open in front, and drivers also don't pay a lot of attention to how they're opening their doors, or so that it doesn't really seem like a change in risk. If anything, it decreases because passenger doors are less likely to be opened.
It just comes from decades of analysis and data that the profession of transportation engineering has determined that's the better approach. It's, as I mentioned, that there are exceptions where there are two-way cycle tracks. Those are between the parked car and the curb. But for one-way, the best practice continues to be to put them on the driver's side.
Let me just add to that. Typically in traffic engineering, I don't want to get too much in detail in the technical side. There are different classifications of bike facility. The class 1 is the off-the-street trail. That's the very preferred, very safe, way of designing it, right? For bicyclists, we all love that kind of trail, right? But if that cannot be accommodated, in most cases, like well-developed area, Rossmore, it's impossible to build your own bike trail somewhere, right? So you have to use the existing right-of-way. So the second best thing is to have a designated bike lane on the street, your own lane. No one can park there, and the vehicle typically should not be driving in that area, either. So that's the second best thing. The third is what we have on Foster, which you really have to, we call it the class 3. So it's tearing down. It's the shared lane that you constantly have to, kind of compete with, vehicle at the same time. So that's typically for low speed residential street, we can do that. But again, as you mentioned earlier, I believe, you don't feel that very comfortable. And that's why people prefer to ride, or at least children prefer to ride on the sidewalk. And the class 4, which is actually earlier someone mentioned to add the little, the parked cars with the bike lane, that's essentially class 4. It's similar to class 2, but you have a physical barrier separating the bike and then the automobile. That's the class 4. So sometimes you do see maybe have a little concrete, curb or something, a dike separating the bike lane and then the travel lane, which, give people the sense of, it's safer, but on the other hand, it creates a lot of maintenance issue. Street sweeping. How does the street sweeping vehicle get in between to sweep the other side, right? So that's another, practical issue. And then also delivery truck. How can they pull over? Or even emergency vehicle. How do you pull over to the curb for emergency stop, stuff like that. So those pose a lot of challenge too. That's why we don't typically at least in Orange County, we don't promote the class 4. It's just not very practical. So that leaves us only the class 1, 2, or 3. In this case, in our experience, and also another thing is a chicken-egg situation. Yes, I agree with you. People are, if you're not accustomed to, there are a lot of bicyclists on the street. Yeah, drivers typically, most of the time, you don't see any bike, you open the door, carefree, right? But if you build a bike lane, and there are more people constantly biking, there is a constant presence of cyclists on the street, then drivers will, over time get used to it. So every time when they open the door, they might start developing the habit of looking into the rear mirror before they open that door. So it really is a kind of a progress that you do have to go through. And another thing I want to point out is some of you guys mentioned the e-bike. It is a thing, really. I mean, I don't know about Rossmore. We have a major headache, somewhere else in the county. And many beach cities having that too. They have to revise their ordinance to accommodate that. I don't know if you guys heard on the radio or not. Huntington Beach recently passed some ordinance so that they can start citing e-bikes. And then there are City of Irvine's doing a series of education programs to all the high school students. You have to attend those classes to get registered with the school district to be able to, ride e-bikes. And I think sooner or later, Rossmore will have more e-bikes. And that's why we want to anticipate that kind of change. And if you don't have the Class 2 bike lane on the street, kids, of course, they go on the sidewalk. But the problem is the e-bike, those bikes are heavier and they go faster. Do we really want them to be on the sidewalk? We don't. That's why having a Class 2 bike lane adding on the street is kind of proactively preventing that from happening. We can educate the students. If you're on the e-bikes and you travel at 20 miles per hour, you should just, take on the bike lane, not on the sidewalk. But if we don't provide that opportunity to them, they have to be on the sidewalk. So again, I know there is no perfect solution that will satisfy everybody. It's a trade-off, yes. But just weighing all the pros and cons, we think our recommendation really is based on the current condition, that's the best you can get. All right? Thank you.
Wait, if the community, and we get enough support to where we just want to do your yellow, is that reasonably done? I mean, that can be done to Bradbury to where it's the two, or do you think that's going to confuse drivers once they go beyond that and it goes to 4? What are your thoughts on just doing the yellow? I'm just throwing out this is just an ask because you guys are in front of me. Might as well ask the question.
These pieces are relatively independent of each other, so you could do the red and the yellow, you could do the blue. There's some benefit for continuity to have more of it, but in a literal sense, you can mix and match. You could do 2, 3, 4 of these recommendations or not.
I think the other, it was, again, for us that get up in the morning and watch the movement of these bikes, and now we're talking about bikes and bikes lanes. It's certainly, I don't see a lot of bikes going from Shakespeare on Orangewood to LaSalle. They're going to the Oak Middle School, or if they're going to the high school, they're not taking that way. They go out through Shakespeare. So, the piece from Shakespeare to Orangewood, I mean, I like the idea of being the same, flow in terms of the middle lane, but I mean, the person who said that, has there been any complaints on that side, which I don't know of any complaints from Shakespeare on Orangewood to LaSalle in terms of bikes. There might be some complaints on speed. Not so much traffic. It's residential on both ways. There's no condo complexes where there's no overflow of parking. And certainly the bikes tend to, because most of them that I see today are middle schoolers going to school. So I don't know. We'll see what, the community, what support we have on what section, and we'll see, we're going to put a plan together in terms of how we're going to get this out, a timetable, okay? Because we want to get this, it's tough to engage folks. I appreciate everyone that came here and took the time out to come here, because it's very difficult to get residents here on a matter, right? But I appreciate, the last meeting, we had a whole bunch of people, and we, sign up, because we get your email. You're going to get on all of the emails. Anytime Carolyn or Joe send out an email on this subject, traffic, you guys are going to get an email. And we're going to put a kind of a timeline to get feedback as to what our next steps are going to be. Anything to add, Nathan?
No.
We're good? Yeah. Any other? Yes, please. Okay, please.
Could I suggest that maybe a schematic that actually represents the 3 lanes be pictured there?
On page 5, the roundabouts?
Yeah.
Oh, and a picture of the 3 lanes going into the roundabout?
Yes. So what it would actually be,
Can
either
we,
by a diagram or,
Way you think we
Photoshop.
can just draw a diagram?
and so where you can show where you can't, turn at the, it's only 1 lane going into
Yeah.
the roundabout. in
Yeah,
the
it just
center.
dissolves. It'll just, yeah, but I see what you're saying.
And where the crosswalks are, yeah, that would be
Yeah.
good too.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, I still have my question is where are the surveys going to go? You've got my condo complex that has 50 units, which means we have roughly at least 80 drivers. You have the one south of me that's got about the same amount. So that's 160 drivers. You've got a third in between that and the library. And you have the huge north of Rossmore Survey, and I can never remember the name of that complex. It used to be apartments, now it's all condos. A huge group of people that are affected by Montecito, whatever you do. And I know officially we're not in Rossmore, but we are affected by that traffic. I mean, I hear traffic all day long until about 10 o'clock. But I can guarantee you from 10 o'clock at night till 5 o'clock in the morning, you hear almost nothing. It's true. And then it starts. And I can almost set my clock by it. But we need to be able to voice our concerns or our opinions on these traffic routes because it will affect us.
Yep.
Thank you.
How many contacts do we have on the complexes on Montecito?
We do have their association representatives and the companies that run the maintenance and.
Oh, like the management?
Yeah.
And you have a homeowners association, right? We'll give it some, so.
We have maybe 5 people come. That's typical.
Yeah.
I will definitely talk about this.
Okay. You have Joe's contact, right? Okay, well, you will before you leave. Yep.
Just really quick, the earlier, when you guys talking about, the lady was asking about the roundabout layout. When you go home, just use Google Map and look for Sienna Parkway in Ladera Ranch. And there are a lot of roundabouts along it. You can just zoom in and see how the lane configuration is. And that typically is, what
Sienna Parkway?
Yeah. Or Narrow Canyon Road. So, yeah, in Ladera Ranch, if you look into Google area, you will see a lot of roundabouts there. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, no, I'd like to get the crosswalks, the 3 to 2. We'll work on that to have the actual, this is what we're proposing, or what they're proposing.
It's just a suggestion, but I have the issue of dealing with Seal Beach. I can see to be a problem. Maybe a suggestion is to try and form a coalition with these apartment owners who are in Seal Beach and therefore can vote in the Seal Beach elections, which is what matters eventually. So maybe a key to trying to help getting parking into the Rossmore Shopping Centre would be to try and form a coalition between Rossmore and the apartment owners along there, because we don't vote in Seal Beach. So we may be nice and they want to be nice, but eventually, I hate to say it, it's about the money and your parking. So maybe some form of coalition could possibly work.
Yep. I think what Mrs. Churchill said is after, defeating the housing element twice in the past, well, the housing element won first and then the fitness club second, I doubt we're going to defeat it again. If they want to build houses, now again, they're just zoning it for houses. Someone has to come in and get it from the shops and build housing there. But the way this new housing element is, where there's, if you go low income, you can have 0 parking or half a parking per unit. Her suggestion about, hey, city, you should just put it in the, however you articulate it in your ordinance or whatever, where you have to build a parking structure. So that's what Seal Beach, that's actually a good idea. So if you build 480 units, you got to have a parking structure for overflow parking. That's
Just for everyone's awareness, I mean, you have a city councilwoman from Seal Beach here currently, and Councilman Moore was here earlier as well listening, so.
Yep.
You can shake your head, but Councilwoman Starsik there, and that's great. So you're talking, I mean, in a public hearing, you're talking to them as it is, and I appreciate that Councilwoman Starsik is here tonight and that Councilman Moore was here. So, talk to them.
Yep.
They don't like you being unhappy either. I mean, we're neighbors, the relationship matters. They don't have, as Mr. Mendoza has reminded us repeatedly, is, none of us have the power to tell a landowner like the one that has the shops and the lot behind Sprouts what to do. But, you have to have a dialogue in a community in a whole. So, thank you, Councilwoman. I really appreciate your attendance, and share the same to Councilman Moore. I appreciated that.
anything else? Yes.
Hi, I'm Robert. I live here on Tucker Lane. And I was at the last meeting, and one of the proposals was no parking on the west side of Montecito.
Yeah, and I don't see it on this one. I don't see it on this one.
Because it's very, and in last meeting, several people
Yep.
mentioned that. It's very
So,
dangerous
yeah,
coming out of Tucker.
I'm not saying it's not dead. It's I don't know, Wazoo, what, in your opinion, why was that removed? And just give us your thoughts.
Well, as I said earlier, one of the kind of a baseline is we don't want to compromise parking. No, we don't necessarily want to add more parking, but we don't want to reduce or diminish the parking capacity
Yeah,
on
but we're
Montecito.
talking about safety here, not
Right,
parking.
but the road, well, one step at a time, we believe the reconfiguration will contribute to the safety. That alone will improve
You mean
safety.
the 3 lanes?
Yes.
And it's like I was saying before, and we talked about this last meeting. When you're making your left out of Tucker, you're looking at 2 oncoming lanes.
Right,
You're
yeah.
only going to be looking at 1.
That would help.
And perhaps and I think they've already increased the red curb. I don't know, you live on Tucker, I don't know. I know on some of the corners, we have asked to increase the red curb approaching some of those streets. Just
Well,
to
it needs to be increased more.
Yeah.
Because it's always parked there.
Yep.
There's,
And I think so the balance is safety, but there's only, we can't remove, I guess, all of the parking on there, because again, in theory, it's a great idea. Keep it all red. My God, it's going to be real safe. People can ride their bikes on the south side. But the negative of that is you give up a ton of parking. So what's going to happen? Even more people are going to be parking in Rossmore. So the best scenario is you don't have 100, I forget the count, I think it's about 127 when we did the research. Joe went out and actually counted cars, about 127. Okay, cars are being parked in Rossmore on a given night, right? So you increase that now by, I don't know how many spots there are on south side of Montecito, but 40, 30? I don't know what's on Montecito.
West side, right?
No, south side, west side, I'm sorry, west side Montecito. So I hear you, that was an option.
yeah.
We're just trying to narrow this down to get, is there enough support on any one of them, okay, to do it? And you know, again, I made this point last meeting. We're only painting the street. We're only painting the street. So it's not like it's, I don't want to hear this, but it's not like it's, if it doesn't work or there's a better option, perhaps we change it down the road, okay? But certainly if we didn't have the parking problem, it would be an easier decision to just paint it all red. But we do have a parking problem. So that's kind of where we're weighing it out.
Tony, if I could, to your question about the safety point, if you go to 3 lanes, the vehicles are pushed closer to the center of the street, so they'll be easier to see. Right now, it's difficult with the parked cars to see the curb lane.
Right.
But with the bike lane, you're pushing the cars more to the center of the street, so it'll improve the sight distance.
But the bike lane's on the side toward the street, right?
Yes. Right, but it'll push the moving vehicles closer to the center of the street.
Yeah.
Which makes them easier to see.
Oh, the lane.
So that's an increased safety.
Yeah.
Not as much as you.
Well, you're only looking for one car coming
and not
instead of
two. Yep.
So, well, I want to put an okay for the roundabout. Because last time I saw it, I go, no, I don't want change. But since then, I went to our AARP mature driving class for 2 days, and one of the things they talked about was roundabouts and how great they were.
I think we just need more, try to look at them on Google Maps, try to go visit them. I mean, that's what I try to do. At the end of the day, we just want safer roads, right? So we'll try to share actual schematics on what those 3 intersections would look like to where we all know what they look like. Okay, we're not looking at someplace in wherever we're looking at, right? Because we had questions last time with the crosswalk. So where does that go? How's it going to stop? And again, at the end of the day, is it too much for, to your point, a little bit of in the morning and in the afternoon? Again, my counter to that is it's all day long because people drive through the stops too. On our, what is defined by county as really unused roadway, right, of Rossmore, but we just want them as safe as possible, so. We need to think about it.
Try temporary, because like in the class, it cuts down accidents and it cuts it.
And it slows.
The flow of traffic,
Yep.
and you even save a little gas because you're not stopping
Yep.
and punching it.
Yep, you're right.
So.
Thanks for coming. Yep. Yep. We good? So we will develop a plan now. We're just doing this in steps. We want to get a survey out. We're going to have some more meetings. Everybody that signed up and gave their email are on a list. We're also going to send it out to the whole community, and we're going to develop a framework to get as much information as we can as to which direction we want to go.
Does our guests have anything else?
Anything else? Any closing statements?
We just want to know that, is it okay if we just go ahead and send out the mail out for the survey to all the residents along Rossmore and also Bradbury and Bostonia and Shakespeare? And then the rest will depend on RCSD to do the email notification. And you guys feel free to, extend the words to your neighbors and encourage everyone to vote. The problem is, historically, when we try to survey, you send out 200, 500 mailer and only 10 responded.
Yeah.
So that doesn't help very much. So speak up now or forever hold your peace. So we want to, engage everyone and give everyone the opportunity to vote. So please do take it seriously. This is your community. And we're just here to help and try to find a solution for all. But if you guys don't speak up, then really there's not much we can do.
All right. We can, let's discuss, when would you plan on sending that out? Immediately?
Well, we can't just, drag this project on indefinitely. So I'm hoping, let's say the county send out the mailer in the next month or two.
Yes.
Is it a good time to send out during the holiday season? But then after that, give it another month or two to hear anything. We give you a cutoff deadline.
Okay.
And then by then, we're gonna close down the survey and start counting how many people vote on, yay on this one, no on that one. And then based on the statistics, then we'll decide what to do at that point.
All right, so
hopefully-
let's discuss that way in terms of these month or twos, and let's get a timeline. And because like you said, we want to get our data to make sure, knock on doors, send out in our paper, and get as much input as possible. So, your thoughts, Joe?
Yeah, I would like to sit down with Wazoo and define the areas we're going to survey. And then in the meantime, I'll work with the city of Seal Beach. I do have a meeting coming up with the city manager, Joe Ingram.
Okay.
And to discuss this whole issue and look at some of the alternatives. So yeah, if we can meet and discuss the streets we're hitting in the areas, and then I'll try to get some more addresses. Is that okay?
Yes, but holiday is coming up, vacation is coming up
I
too,
know.
so.
Okay.
If you can probably, send me an email with the area photo, drawing down the area of coverage. Or we can do, from our end, we can generate the addresses, a list of address in the spreadsheet, send it over to you for you to take a look to see
Please,
if you
yeah.
want to expand that or that's sufficient.
Okay. All right.
And I think for those who have not come to the meetings, it's going to be foreign to them what this all means. So it's got to be coordinated with sending also information from us, not in tangent, not with your mailer, but just to get people in the loop on some of the details, why we're doing it and all that. So, okay. Thank you. Thanks for coming. Anything else?
Is there a statutory requirement for the radius that you would have to notice people? Like for CEQA, if it was a private development, you would have to do a certain radius around that you have to notice for who you'll impact. So is there a similar statutory requirement since you'd be changing the street?
No.
You don't have that same requirement as a private development?
Not really.
Okay.
Yeah. And trust me, we want everyone to know about it, and that's why we're taking this slow, having these meetings, because as it was stated already, we don't like change here, so, and I know that, so we're just taking this slow, but we still feel that the information that Way's given us is good. I mean, these suggestions might be very, very good for the community, but getting people to engage is the tough part. Tonight was great. You have different opinions and we just debate them. It's good, healthy. All right. Thank you, everybody.